Veronica Taylor. I'm probably best known for playing Ash in Pokemon, which is definitely my
I'm Lindsay Seidel. I'm going to list a few because it's hard to know. It depends who you ask, you know, what they know me from, but Neji Hato in My Hero Academia, Nagisa Shioda in Assassination Classroom. I'll leave it at that.
Kyle Phillips, voice of Denki Kaminari in My Hero Academia. Yeah, I got to witness two lovely people get engaged right in front of my table. It was my favorite role, though, is Isuzu Ichinose in a show called Space Battleship Tiramisu. Check it out.
Okay, cool.
I am Monica Rial. I'm best known probably for Bulma and the Dragon Ball franchise, Suyu Wasui in My Hero Academia, and Kaede Kayano in Assassination Classroom.
So we have a great panel who has done so much great stuff, and that's one of the cool things about voice acting, right? You can get one project and be like, oh, I know you from this. It's like, oh, I was these 11 things too. How funny.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. Have you all been voice actors for a long time? I know you've been on the convention circuit for a while. You've been out like 3 weeks in a row, I think. I heard you saying. Yeah, and then so you just go around, meet the fans, and then get back into the recording sessions. But what is a day in the life of a voice actor like for you guys as you try to get new projects and do the ones you're already on?
Well, your job as a voice actor is not to voice act, it's to audition.
Right.
And you send out thousands of auditions and get none of them. But every once in a while you get one and it's wonderful. But no, it's just sitting around, playing video games. And
This is
then,
Kyle's version.
Kyle's got really tough.
Who you ask.
yeah, and every once in a while you go in and yeah.
Or for Kyle, it's you know, or you're on Twitch most of the time.
Yeah, streaming
on Twitch.
Yeah, doing all sorts of stuff. Being a voice actor really is living the millennial dream where you don't do, like someone's like, oh, what do you do? Well, I do a whole bunch of stuff. And so yeah, that's what my day's like.
That's it.
Anyone else?
Well, when people ask me what I do, I just say I'm an accountant.
Nobody wants to follow up on that. It's not, oh, that's not that. Oh, good for you.
Like, oh, that's cool. Like,
I used to say textiles. Like, I work in textiles, so people are like, I don't even know what that means, so I'm not going to ask them that
Then you
question.
can follow. That's brilliant. Yeah.
no, yeah, because if I say voice actor, they're like, oh, what would I know you from? And I'm like, oh, here we go.
You're like, oh, no, but what about this stuff?
Yeah.
20 minutes.
And then I like also debate whether I should say voice actor or actor because
No, again, that's a very good point. You're an actor.
Because I do on-camera work as well. But
Because voice acting
I'm
is
mainly
acting, regardless.
and voice acting is acting. But you know, that I'm mainly known for the voiceover stuff. And usually I find that the reaction is if I say that I'm an actor, then usually they assume that I mean aspiring actor. But if I say voice actor, then somehow then they like
When you do say that, it does sound like you're not aspiring. That is interesting. If you
right? Isn't that funny?
Because then like, oh, they wouldn't make a voice actor, they'd just make an actor.
Exactly. Right. But yeah, I mean, mainly nowadays my day looks like being a stay-at-home mom.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I have a 9-month-old baby, so all of my time is spent taking care of my baby, or recording auditions when he is napping, and then when it's I have a recording session during the day, then usually my mom will watch my baby because my husband's at work. So yeah, go into the studio. The amount of time it takes to record varies depending on the project and how prominent your character is. And then, yeah, for lots of weekends, we travel to conventions.
Yeah. I think that's the main thing is, you know, all of the traveling on weekends, especially in the summertime, because that's like when all the cons happen. But then, you know, you go home and then, I know like next week I'm in the studio Monday and Wednesday pretty much all day long. So I have Tuesday to get all of my real life stuff done and like all my other work, because, you know, we all do other things. So I do other voice work for commercials and stuff. So you have to be very careful about your time. And that's one thing that I always tell aspiring voice actors is like time management. It's a big deal because you really do. You spend so much time auditioning and working that if you're not really good about scheduling, like for instance at Crunchyroll, like, you know, if you're not careful, they'll give you 2 hours here and 5 hours here and an hour there. And I'm like, hey, how about you just give me 2 days? You can schedule whatever you want, but here are your 2 days a week. And boy howdy, do they schedule it.
Yeah, I think in Los Angeles and New York, most of the studios aren't open yet. So we're still recording, depending on which city I'm in, we're still recording primarily at home. So it's really a balance of, trying to get your dishes done, cook dinner, and then get your work done and figure out how to do all of that stuff. I primarily do cartoons, video games, a lot of audiobooks, which then takes a lot of time to read the book, to prep it, and then to sit in your closet and record it. So it definitely was more fun going to a studio when you worked with and could see other people. But it's all a jumble and a puzzle of fitting things together. We live in a small apartment, so my daughter and I, one of us has to be quiet while the other person is working all the time. So that really makes things a little more complicated, that's for sure. But we're both working on things all the time, so it's very...
Yeah, back when, earlier on in the pandemic, when we were doing all of our recording from home, it was complicated because my husband was working from home as well.
Yeah.
And so I have to tell him, okay, I'm about to start a recording session, so you need to be quiet.
Yeah.
You can't be on any work calls during this time.
I know, it's really hard.
It's hard.
But fun. I mean, you're still working, and that's a really great thing.
Yeah,
But it's all complicated.
Mhm. You adapt and you keep going.
Yeah.
That's how you're in the business in the first place, right?
Yeah,
You adapt and keep
because
going.
you love what you do. I'm sure the same for you.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct. At least on weekends like this, right, guys?
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
but that's anything you do in life, you have to have a drive and continue to do it.
Yeah.
So, and you roll with the changes,
Mhm.
as they say. And so I'm glad you guys did. I'm glad you guys are working hard. That's the thing. A lot of people are great voice actors, and then there's working voice actors. And it's a very important thing to be both, as opposed to just one of those two things.
Yeah.
But yeah, so fantastic. Now, since it's Rangerstop and Pop, at a panel like this, we usually like to play a little game just to mix things up before we do a question and answer. And our game for this one was called Famous Scenes. So what we wanted to do was, I wanted to kind of put these guys on the spot, even though I told them about it a little bit, and pick a famous movie scene or television scene or any scene at all, basically, and tell us what that scene is, and then do it as one of their characters. Yeah, so and it can be any line. You don't need a long soliloquy or anything, but it can be just any. That would have been a good word for that game earlier.
Do you think we need a script?
Anyway, that's the thing.
Should I
Yeah,
get my phone
I'm
too?
pulling up a script.
you can, grab it. You can grab your phones if you want to. I don't want to make you do it, but yeah, pull up any dialogue you like. And
I'm not sure.
yeah, you don't have to.
I
Of
never
course.
remember any lines, but if you guys have some lines that you
Yeah, if you have
say,
any you want us to
we
say.
are
Yeah, there you go.
back.
How about that? That could be the
Well,
challenge.
I've got one because it's one of my favorite movies of all time, and that is Goonies Never Say Die!
She understood these signs.
I love me
That
some
was
Goonies.
I love it. That's great.
Mine's going to take a lot longer than that.
That's all right. You read the whole thing if you want.
All right, I got to get into character first. We basically just met you, so it's kind of telling that we all know your personality is flaming crap mixed with garbage. All right, I'm Dickie coming armed. Ezekiel 25:17. The path of the righteous man is beset on all sides by the iniquities of the selfish and the tyranny of evil men. Blessed is he who, in the name of charity and goodwill, shepherds the weak through the valley of darkness. For he is truly his brother's keeper and the finder of lost children. And I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger those who attempt to poison and destroy my brothers. And you will know my name is the Lord when I lay my vengeance upon thee.
Do you guys want to
You took
hear?
me right into that. That was perfect. Yeah.
Do you guys want to hear Nejire or Nagisa? Nagisa, okay. Toto, I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore.
That's it. Perfect.
Does it matter that I've never seen a movie? Because I've been on an adventure and we only have picture phones. So, yeah, I don't know. Do you guys have a line from another movie that...
Show something. We're gonna.
The salad line from Power Rangers Turbo.
What's that?
Yeah, there's a lot. You say? Yeah. You don't have to say it. You can say your favorite thing is Ash Ketchum. That's fine. Yeah, see.
That's it.
That's perfect. I
How
know.
about,
It's so great to be here. I'm working 9 to 5, and I love it.
There you go. Excellent. And even on the spot, I'm sure every panelist's like, oh, we gotta do the voices again, we gotta do this, it's fun. But I'm so glad you're here, and I'm so glad you're having fun, and I think you guys are having a good day, right? That's what it's all about, Rangerstop and Pop. Does anybody out there have any questions for any of our characters? Any of our wonderful voice
I mean,
talent?
we are kind of characters.
We're all characters, everybody's a character, right, in some way? I think so, at least I hope so. I'm gonna start right here.
Hi guys. So obviously, when you guys do voice acting, sometimes whoever does, when you do the recording, sometimes the studio or whoever's in charge of recording tends to tell you to alter your voice. Well, everyone except Monica, because for the most part, a lot of your roles, you tend to keep your voice the same.
It's because I sound like a child.
Especially from projects like Shimonetta or Panty and Stocking. So my question is, how do you decide, how to, who tells you, which voices you keep your same ones, and then others, they tend to say, hey, go a little deeper or go a little higher.
I think the main is the Japanese. When you listen to the Japanese,
If the voice is way down in here,
then you don't want to be like, hey, I'm gonna use this voice. And the director too, but I think that a lot of the directors up at Crunchyroll, they're really good about knowing what we can all do, which is really great because they know hey, there's this low voice character, but I bet Kyle can pull it off. Or hey, there's this high voice character. I bet Colleen, even though her voice is lower, she could probably pull it off. So it's kind of between the Japanese and the director in my head.
Yeah, I'd say typically though, when you audition, you try to, unless you're doing a character-y voice, you try to bring people on who kind of already sound like that. So you're typically not going to be here's a super deep voice character, let me get Justin Briner to do it.
Right.
You're going to look for the Sabbats and whatnot. But there is that too, where you know that Monica can do anything. So you're like, well, we're not gonna
Monica can do anything.
But typically there's not a lot of character-y voices really in anime. A lot of it is very real sounding, which is cool because you can just focus on acting.
Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, I guess this is maybe a little bit repetitive, but my process anyway, when I go in to start recording for something new is we listen to a little bit of it in Japanese, and then the director, is like, okay, take a shot at it, and my first pass, I will just try to sound as close to the Japanese voice as possible. Usually that is what the director is looking for, is they want it to sound very close to that. Occasionally I've had it where the director wants to take a slightly different direction in the English version, and if that's the case, then yeah, the director will say actually, in the Japanese, they sound a little bit older, but the character actually is pretty young, so I want you to actually make the character sound closer to, the age they're supposed to be, as an example. And so yeah, the director, it's ultimately up to them how they want it to sound, and our job as an actor is just to take that direction and try to get it to sound how they want it to sound.
Yeah, it always cracks me up. Monica said this earlier, where it'll be like a villain and he's 17, but he's like, maybe let's have him sound 17.
I also find that when I was working on Pokemon in the beginning, so that's 1998, there was a little more freedom in what we could do with the character and with kind of fitting it in, and if you wanted to put a breath in here or put in running here, you could do that sort of thing. And I found lately anime projects that I'm working on, they're sticking so closely to the original Japanese that even when the character opens their mouth and you think they want to have a sound or something, they're like, no, that's not in the original, we're not putting it in here. So they adhere so closely that I find it limiting.
Yeah.
But as an actor, you have to try to fill it as best you can anyway, as if you were doing it originally, for the first time ever. So it's pretty interesting. It's also interesting how it's changed. It depends on who's producing it.
Yeah.
Awesome. That was a good question.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, great. I don't even have to move.
Hi guys.
Hi.
So since you all do so many characters just over the course of your careers, are there any ones that you feel like went under the radar, or some unsung characters that you feel like could get some more attention?
Yeah.
Yeah, easily. I was the lead character in a show called Infinite Dendrogram. Ray Starling, he was awesome. And it went to Hulu, and I was like, yes, like this is gonna be great. And no one watched it, but it's fun.
I watched that
You
one.
watched it?
I remember that. That's a good
Oh, okay, we got a few. So unfortunately, that probably means yeah, it was great. Probably no season 2 though, because not a lot of people watched it, but maybe someday everyone go watch it.
Sometimes it comes out of nowhere, and you'll get a season 2 for a show that like nobody really watched, and you're like, oh, okay.
Speaking of, there's a great show that nobody's watched called Golden Kamui, and we're about to be on our 4th season.
Oh, wow.
Nobody watches it! Or very few people watch it, I should say. It's a very cool show. It starts out very much like a spaghetti western, and I think that's what kind of freaks people out. But then it has a little bit of everything. Like if you're into cooking shows, there's a little bit of cooking. If you're into hot naked dudes, there's some hot naked dudes. Like, it's a little bit of everything. There's got some comedy, but that one's really great. There's so many shows.
Yeah.
And especially, like Veronica and I have been in this industry for so long, a lot of the older shows that we've worked on, that I feel like there's a whole generation that you guys have missed of these really awesome
Because
shows.
you couldn't find them before, and still
No.
you can't. Even now, you have to really know where to go, and then everything's there. A lot of stuff I work on, I don't even know that it's on somewhere.
Right.
You know, so I don't even know how people find stuff. Or how do you know people are watching it?
Right.
So that's the other thing.
There was that one
Yeah.
show that you did way back in the day. I'm gonna brag on Veronica, but what was the show where you played like 7 versions of the same?
So yeah, it was called Nana 7 of 7.
So good.
And Sean Schemmel directed it.
It was so good.
And it was all her personalities were different. So there was the angry Nana, the sad Nana, we had to do so many, in those crowd scenes, you had to do 7 different reactions, you know, of all the, so funny. Yeah, it was a cool show. Plus then I really got to play all the parts, because it was all Nana.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Anybody who help right over here? Okay. Then we'll come back. I see you in the back. Don't worry. Go.
Thank you. Hi. So I have a question for Lindsay and Monica. I don't know if there are any Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc fans in here, but I did want to. Hi. So I did want to ask the both of you: is there a certain part of Danganronpa for your characters that you personally just either related to or you just really, really liked? And if there is a certain voice line that you really appreciated, would you like to give us an example?
So, we worked on that so long ago. So I can't speak for Monica, but I personally do not remember any of my lines. Because also, I mean, Frank, to be perfectly honest, even if this was a show that I recorded last week, I still wouldn't remember any of the lines. Because we don't memorize them, and we don't even get the scripts in advance. We show up and we are cold reading. We are seeing the script for the first time. So we go in, we read it, and we leave, and we forget everything.
And
we
you go on to another job.
go on to another job. However, I will say, I do remember with voicing Celestia, it was just a lot of fun. I can't say I relate to her really in any regard, other than we're both pale with dark hair. That's about it. But she was a really fun character to play. Her character design was just so fun, and it was cathartic when she had like outbursts. That was, you know, I would get in there and be like, "Ah," and then be like, "Oh, that felt good."
I want to jump in, quick tangent, just to further elaborate on what Lindsay said. I like to equate voice acting to how I was as a student in school, which was I never studied. I would cram the passing period before like a project or a test, ace it, and then never remember any of it.
Okay, brat mode.
Yeah, that is voice acting. Okay, sure. That is voice acting. So there you go. But yeah, cold reading skills. If you want to be a voice actor, work on your cold reading skills. Okay, Monica needs the answer.
Well, no spoilers, but I didn't have a lot to do. I will say it was a lot of fun getting to sing that like 2 lines of the pop song. Like I didn't think I was gonna get to do that, so that was kind of fun. I'm like, hey. But as much as I love Sayaka, I don't really identify with her a whole lot because she's a famous pop star. I wish.
Come on, Monica, don't sell yourself.
No, I wish. I will say it was kind of fun that she got to have a little dig there at the end that I wasn't expecting. But I live vicariously through my best friend, Jamie Markey, because she plays Junko. And so I get so excited when I see Junkos and I take pictures and send them to her. Because I'm like, look at Junko! I'm so excited for you!
I haven't seen any Junkos yet.
I haven't either!
They're everywhere.
I know.
That's how it goes.
Next show, everybody knows what to wear.
That's right.
That's it, everybody. I want to see everybody in the attic. We got one back here from the Red Ranger.
Hey, just real quick, I do some amateur voice acting, and I'm wondering what suggestions you might have to up my game.
Cold reading skills.
That was fast.
Improv, too.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are terrified of improv, but one thing that people don't realize is like, if we're in the studio and say Kyle gets done with his session early, like he's got an extra 30 minutes, a lot of times the directors will walk him around and be like, hey, I finished early with Kyle, do you need him for anything? And a lot of times he's gonna end up going to one studio and playing a grandpa, and the next studio he's gonna be a dog, and then he might be a teenager, and then he might be a monster. So, and you don't have time, like we were talking about earlier, you don't have time to like look at the script.
Yeah, to develop a character.
Yeah.
You just have to be able to just like pop one out.
Yeah. So improv helps a lot.
Yes.
I think regular acting classes too, I'm not sure if you're doing that or not, but a regular acting class, it teaches you how to develop a character, how to work a scene. It'll help you to identify within your cold reading your objectives, and you can, as you're skimming through, figure out what the person wants from you, what you want from them, and it helps to do the scenes. You're talking and listening to yourself essentially, but I think that really helps a lot.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. And you know, a lot of people who want to get into voice acting think that they immediately are like, I need to find voiceover classes, which is great. If you can find a voiceover class to sign up for, that's awesome. But you don't have to do that. Just as long as you take acting classes of some kind, it can be theater, it can be improv, it can be acting for the camera. I've never taken a voiceover class in my life. All of my training, and I did extensive acting training all through my youth, and it was all in acting for the camera. And all those skills translate over, you know, to regardless of what medium you're doing. Acting is acting at the end of the day, and sure, there are going to be like small technical things that are different, but really, most directors, what they care about is that you're just a good actor, and
you're playing the scene.
You're playing a character believably, and that's really what's important.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to teach someone the technical sides of dubbing than it is to teach them acting.
Yes, that's true.
I also teach a voiceover class.
Yeah.
I will say, like, the one class that I've taken in my whole career, like, I haven't taken voiceover classes either, but the one class that has helped me more in my career than any other class I've ever taken was in college. I took a class called Voice for the Actor. It was not voiceover, it was just like being on stage and how to project and how to find different placements and how to, you know, different accents and utilizing different parts of your voice. That has helped me more than anything. And that was a class at my college. So those of you that are in school, look around. You don't necessarily have to be a major in order to take some of these classes. So.
And I do think even reading, I did a lot of volunteer work too for the Jewish Guild for the Blind, where I would go in and read on the radio for those who were sight impaired, and you would just get the. Did you? Yeah, and also you can read at the library. You can read to your smaller relatives simple books where you start to develop characters and switch back and forth as you're narrating. That's a great. It's a great skill to have, but it's a great way to develop your skills as well.
That's so true, because really at the end of the day, what makes a great actor is practice, practice, practice.
Yeah.
And you can create those, you know, scenarios for yourself to force yourself to practice.
Yeah.
And reading books aloud with characters.
And
that's
simple
great.
books too, which is why I say children, because you've got a simple narrator and simple characters that pop in. Sometimes you have 3 animal friends and the narrator, and so you can easily work on switching back and forth, where you can see the picture of the pig talking to the chicken, and you can get the physicality in your voice. You know, I think it helps a lot.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so
Good
much.
luck.
I'm reading Avengers to my son, so that's probably.
Hey, all right. There you go.
I just want to also say thank you guys for all the great work y'all do.
And good luck to you.
Thank you.
Look forward to hearing your great work.
You go over here? Excellent. I don't have to stand up. This is so good. Here you go.
Yeah.
Hi guys, how
Hi.
you doing? Oh, okay. Hi, this is for anyone on the panel. Just wanted to know how and when did you decide that you wanted to be a voice actor?
I decided when I was 5 that I wanted to be an actor. I was in a production of Goldilocks, and that's when I decided I wanted to be an actor. And then from there, I
Were you Goldilocks?
I was. It was really exciting. And then I just did all the plays I could. I have a bachelor's in acting from undergrad and a master's from grad school. I toured the country with a bunch of different acting companies, and so I never set out to be a voice actor, but my career took a voice turn along the lines of when Pokemon started in 1998, and it coincided when my daughter was born. So luckily my workload became a little more manageable in terms of my time management. I couldn't do a play anymore because I couldn't go to rehearsal all day and do a show all night. So luckily things turned. So I never made a decision, but things kind of worked out that way.
Yeah, my story is somewhat similar in that I definitely did not specifically set out to be a voice actor because I decided I wanted to be an actor at a very, very young age. Basically from the time that I could talk and knew what an actor was. According to, I don't even remember, my parents say that, yeah, from the very beginning I was always like, I want to be an actress, I want to be an actress. And definitely I had no idea what a voice actor was. I just wanted to perform, and I begged them for years to put me in acting classes, and they were kind of like, yeah, okay, sure, yeah, you and everybody else wants to be an actor. And finally, they gave in and signed me up for an acting class when I was 9 or 10, and it just happened to be that it was acting for the camera, and so that's where I got my start, and I continued taking classes. I shortly after signed with a talent agency with the intention of just doing acting for film, acting for the camera, TV, movies, commercials. And my agency asked if I would also be willing to audition for voiceover roles too. And I was like, oh yeah, sure, that sounds fun too. And so I did, and so throughout my teenage years, I did both voiceover and on camera, but I didn't start with the anime stuff until I was 17, and that's when my agency sent me on my first audition at Funimation. And so really the reason why that's what I'm most known for is just coincidence of where I happen to be located. I live in Dallas, Texas, and that's where Funimation, now Crunchyroll, is, and so that's been my bread and butter.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah.
I have the unorthodox path in that I always viewed myself as a behind-the-scenes guy, and I really wanted to get into music. I'm a musician, and I wanted to be the next Rick Rubin. Anyone know who Rick Rubin is? Right on. But I was unwilling to move to LA or New York, so I ended up doing a lot of studio stuff, and then it was actually Monica who gave me my first voice acting role. And back in 2008, we were working on a show called Triple X Holic. I was the engineer, Monica was the director.
It was my engineer, it was awesome.
That's right. Way back in Studio H?
I.
Studio I.
Wow. Way back in
Yeah. And Monica was like, oh crap, I forgot to get Big Ghost 24A. And I was like, can I do it? She said, yeah.
Get in there.
And I went, and she was like, oh, he's gonna be a star. And so I immediately was like, okay, I want to do this. And so just over time, just snaking my way into more and more roles. And Tyler gave me my first name role, Jason in Fairy Tale, and that kind of set me up. So thank you, Monica.
Of course.
Yeah, wow.
That was the thing. I also worked on this show called Kenichi, The Mightiest Disciple, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So we worked on that one, but that one was like, there were so many dudes in that show that I would literally walk around Funimation. I'm like, you're a dude, get in there. Like, you wanna be a voice actor today? What about you? What about you? And so there was people like, we had Trent and like, Chris from the other side, like all these people that do marketing or do other things, they were coming in and like just yelling for me. Cause I'm like, I just need dudes to die. Like, yeah, sure, whatever. But yeah, it was really fun getting to like take some of my colleagues and be like, hey, let's try it. Like, get in there. Why not? Grundy too was fun. Like getting him in there.
Grundy, yes.
I'm kind of along the same lines as these guys. Like I didn't plan on being a voice over actor. It was just like, I want to be an actor. And I was going to the University of Houston and doing a lot of Shakespeare, and I thought, oh, I'm gonna go Broadway. And Jason Douglas, another voice actor, kind of turned my world upside down because he's like, hey, I'm doing this thing, and you should do it. Because it's all about kids saving the world, and you sound like a child. And I'm like, oh, thank you, I think. But that was for ADV Films, and so I auditioned, and at first I was like, well, this is a cool gig while I'm in college, right? I don't have to wait tables, I can like do this fun thing, and who knows how long it'll last, and here we are 23 years later.
I think you are the most prolific voice actor.
Yeah, definitely.
I think Monica has more credits than anyone else.
It's a little weird, like, I don't keep track, I'm not a competitive person or anything, like, I don't care. But my talent agent was like, so I was looking online, and I'm like, cool. And she's like, there's this place that ranks, like, all the like, how many roles people have had. And she's like, do you know that you're, like, you've had more roles than anybody in the United States? And I was like, no, I did not know that. She's like, and she sent me the link, and she goes, you know what's even crazier? I'm like, what? She goes, you're only, like, 15 away from the top Japanese person. And I'm like, wow. So now, even though I'm not competitive, I'm a little
That's like achievable.
It's a very attainable goal. I mean, it's not, yeah.
I just think it would be super cool that if the person that's voiced the most anime is like a little Hispanic girl from Texas, like, yeah! I don't think the Japanese would like it very much.
That'll be their problem.
That's
Once
okay.
you break the
You guys will
record.
have to catch up.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Get in there. Get in there. Anybody else got one? Right up front here. I'll go here, 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 and there. How about that?
I've also been like interested in the past about voice acting because like I was the one I did all the clubs in school, and they'd all be like, when you do announcements, they'd be like, send April up, she has a good voiceover. And I'm like, I didn't think I spoke any differently than anybody else. But my concern has been, especially as I got older, I've been getting more and more of a southern accent. And there's certain, so I don't know if that would limit me or if it would behoove me to try to practice more of my, that newscaster Midwestern accent. So that's what I'm a little concerned about. I was trying to get some opinions.
You can beat it out of you. So I grew up in Houston. So you really do. It's a beating. Like, it's not easy, but I grew up in Houston. My dad is from Spain, so he's got that accent. My mom is British descent, so she's got a little bit of an accent herself. And then I grew up in the hood. So when I tell y'all I talk like this, like I seriously talk like this growing up. Like everything was like, hey, what do you think? Well, who are you? Get out of my way. What is your problem? So like it took me a very long time as an actor to get that out of my system. And it really was just kind of beating myself up. Anytime a word would come out, I'm like, excuse me, let me do that again. And a lot of working on enunciation, doing a lot of the little warm-up games that we would do. Like there's one that's called To Sit in Solemn Silence, where you have to enunciate every consonant and every vowel, and that really helped me learn what's called placement. So I learned that for me, in order to get over my different accents and things, to put my my voice further in the front of my mouth, that kind of helped me overcome a lot, especially the southern aspect. It like helps if you kind of bring everything a little bit forward.
And I do have a background in singing, so I've taken a lot of diction, but for some reason when I'm just talking, it's like, recently I've been posting videos of the fact that I cannot say the word horror anymore, and it comes out, yeah.
It's funny you say that, because when I was in high school, we did a play, and I had to say the word horror, and every time I said it, they were like, it sounds like
another word.
So I had to say horror.
I say horror.
And I taught myself how to say horror instead. So now, after years of saying horror, now I can say horror without it being, but for the longest time, yeah, it just sounded like I was straight up like, horror!
Last video, I was trying to say it really slowly, but I sound like a dog.
Yeah.
I think it's always good to stretch, like to be able to do all different accents and things like that, and work your voice, the whole range and all of that. So I would just keep up with it. Good luck.
Awesome.
I just want to point out, Monica, I don't know the last time you checked, you're actually the second in the world most prolific.
Wow!
Only
Wait, you can pull Yasu? I'm coming for you.
How many does he have in comparison? You can see it.
Monica has 697, he has 714.
All right.
That is not that far off.
You can do it.
You need what, 17?
Is he still voice acting?
Oh, I don't know.
Hey, that's a good
If not, yeah.
He's older than I
You can
am.
surpass, you will one day surpass him.
Yeah. He's done a lot. Homeboy has done a lot.
Is he in My Heroes? I bet he is.
If he's not in My Hero, he's not voice.
Probably in everything.
He must be.
That was
There's
gonna
only
be-
714
He's not in My Heroes.
Maybe he's retired and I have a chance.
For everything that's ever been recorded, he's been in.
Oh my God.
I did not know this list existed.
Where
I didn't either.
are you?
I'm probably not on the list.
418.
This is too depressing to look into.
My
now.
talent
Yeah,
agent of all people.
I was gonna say.
Yeah.
I don't know how she found it.
Still looking for you, Kyle?
It's all Houston people. So it's Monica, Lucy, John, Brittany are the top 4
Wow.
English.
You know what it is?
No.
It's because when we did an ADV back in the day, like we churned and burned. It was like we were, and then I came to Funimation, and that's when Funimation was like, "Hey, we're gonna double our studio," and so they were. So I think it was just being in the right time, right place, right time.
Totally. But you rocked it.
Yeah, that's amazing.
You continue.
It's one of those things, you can be in the right place at the right time, but then if you're good enough, you just keep going.
That's
Yeah,
it.
it is.
That's it.
Who can say that? I mean,
I know,
2 people
right?
in the world can say, well,
Yeah.
only one person can say they're second best. But, ooh, no. They're coming for it. We had a question right here, though. I'm gonna keep those flowing.
All
Yeah.
right. That's amazing.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for all of your amazing work. My question is that, do you have a dream role or character, whether in anime, cartoons, or live action, that you just want so bad? Even if they've already been voiced before, or or like acted before, like what would you love to play? What character would you love to play?
I think it exists, an anime version of this, but my favorite comic ever is Superman Red Sun.
Yes.
And I would love to be Red Sun Superman. I think that would be just incredible. Also, me and every other person in my voice range wants to be Chainsaw Man. So that's going to be quite the battle. But I grew up.
I was already told it's going to be me. No.
No, that's cool. That's cool. I grew up with Toonami being Monday through Friday after school. Now I think it's Saturdays at night. So I grew up with Gundam Wing, Yu Yu Hakusho, all that. My favorite ever, Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah.
So Steve Bloom is an amazing dude, but if for some reason he was like, you know what, I'm tired of this. Kyle, you're gonna be Spike Spiegel. I would be so stoked to be Spike Spiegel.
I think for me, I became a huge MCU nerd during the pandemic. Like, I'd already known about Marvel and everything, and my husband's big on comics, and so we would have these conversations, but it wasn't until WandaVision that I really, paid attention, because I'm also a writer, and the writing on that show was so great that I'm like,
I thought you said long division.
I hate long division. WandaVision. But then I went back and started watching some of those shows. So I would say that I would want to just be in that universe somewhere. I don't care where. I could be one of the Lokis. I don't care. I will be Bunny Loki. Let me voice that. I'm all about it. Anywhere in there, I'd be happy.
I don't have I've never really had a specific thing in mind. It's I would love to be able to specifically do this. As far as voiceover goes, I feel like I've been really lucky in the variety of characters I've gotten to play, and that is what is so fun for me, especially within voiceover, because you don't have as many limitations as far as the types of characters you can play, because it doesn't matter what you look like. You can play characters that look nothing like you, whereas for on-camera work, there are more limitations. You have to look like the character. There's only so much that hair and makeup can do, but I would say for on camera, I would really love to be able to have a role that was comedic in nature, because that is just so much fun. And I don't think I've really had the chance yet for on camera roles to be in something that was especially funny, and that would be a lot of fun.
I feel similarly that like we audition for so many things that we don't get that I often don't set my sights on something. I just concentrate on what's in front of me.
Yeah.
But again, I agree. What I love is the variety. I love to play different ages, different everything. And so the fact that I can be playing a 3-year-old girl and a 90-year-old woman and a 10-year-old boy all in the same day, that's what really keeps me going. Yeah, and I narrate a lot of audiobooks, so I get to be all the characters. And I really enjoy that. It's super hard work. But there's a big payoff because you tell the story, and I love that. And that's me. I'm just throwing my voice in the back. I'm working on ventriloquism with my mask. Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Is it bragging?
So most of y'all's main roles that everybody knows you for are protagonists. I'd like to know what y'all think the story would be more like if y'all switched it to an antagonist.
So,
like if, for the My Heroes, if your character wasn't a hero and rather a villain.
so like if Nejire, like it's still Nejire, but she's a villain.
Yeah.
I can't even like picture that.
I can actually vividly picture this because for you My Hero fans, you probably know about the Denki traitor theory.
Yes.
Maybe.
What's that? What's the theory?
There's a traitor in season 1. They revealed who it is, no spoilers, but the League of Villains got in and messed stuff up. And the theory is that someone in the school did it. But so if you know the concept art for Denki, he looks straight up like a villain. And I think it's so cool because I love the idea that like Denki doing dumb Denki and like frying his brain is an act, and he truly knows how to use his quirk. And if Denki ever learns how to fully use his quirk, he will become the most powerful character in the universe. So that would be super cool. So I think I want to see, My Hero is in a unique position like Marvel, where like, My Hero can put out any kind of movie, and people will watch it. So I would love to see My Hero Academia villain Denki movie. And it doesn't have to be canon, you know. He would die at the end, but I would love to see like Denki go on a rampage, and My Hero could do it. Would you all watch My Hero Academia villain Denki the movie? They're in a very unique stance.
Support you, Kyle. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Totally.
Yes.
We've already bought our ticket.
That's right. So Lindsay wants to do like goofy comedic stuff. That's like almost all I do. I really want to voice a really nasty villain. I haven't really done that yet. My one big villain.
I've voiced my fair share of nasty villains.
I haven't. I just voice sassy blonde dudes. So I want to voice like a really like bad dude. Yo and Dr. Stone was the closest. And he was so I always go like when I auditioned for My Hero, I auditioned for Shigaraki first. I was like, I want to be Shigaraki. And she's like, you sound too nice. And then Eric, of course, crushed it. So.
Well, I mean, Eric's got that apathy read that just comes across so great as a villain. I think Suyu, she's such a sweet little cinnamon roll. There's no way that she could ever be a villain, in my opinion. But if she was, she has one of the best quirks that a villain could have, because she can go completely camouflaged, right? So she can hide and listen in on people's conversations. She can spit acid mucus, right? So she's got the toxic mucus that she can spit out, so nobody can get near her. She's got that tongue that she can whip people with. Like, she could be like a hardcore villain, but she's
I can see that. Yeah.
Okay, real quick. I did a stream. We did a just chatting. We were just hanging out, and someone said, "Hey, we should play this game. It's a Hunger Games browser game. There's no like pictures or anything. You just put in names, and then you see how they do in the Hunger Games." So on stream, I put in all the Class 1A people, and my favorite was, so you'd be like, this person does this person does this. So it was, for some reason, Froppy forces Aizawa to choose to kill either Deku or All Might.
That's like a Monica thing, that's
And so of course, it's just like, why would Froppy do this? But yeah, maybe Froppy is evil. But Aizawa chose to kill his problem child.
Okay, so I thought about it more. And like I can see, like it would be pretty entertaining to see a situation where Nejire is actually a villain and she's just been fooling everybody with this like
Yeah.
you know, facade of being like so sweet, sugary sweet, and like ditzy and la la la, but she's actually a villain. Like that'd be pretty. Actually, you know what? That does remind me of those of you who have seen SSSS Gridman. Akane in that show, like it starts out where you think she's just this like super sweet, like cutesy girl, and she's actually like real scary.
That's awesome. Well, guys,
I want to say, I don't think if Ash Ketchum,
Ash Ketchum, but like not a Pokemon trainer, rather like kind of
like a Team
like
Rocket.
Joe Cena.
Yeah, so maybe he would sabotage people by throwing his Pokeballs at them, right when they're about to in a battle and knocking them off or something, and then be like, I didn't do anything. And so it would be, I think he could be, but he would be so bumbling as a villain. Because he doesn't know what he's doing anyway. I mean, really, like all of us, he's always just kind of trying to figure things out. I don't think it would behoove him to be a villain because they don't, you know, they barter anyway everywhere they go. So I think he's better off being a good guy, but yeah, I guess I'll give it a try.
But would Ash being on Team Rocket, would that make Team Rocket like competent? And that would be pretty scary.
Yeah, no, they never would be. But maybe Team Rocket would be the good guys. And then he'd be stealing his Pokemon back.
Yeah.
So maybe, I don't know. This is complicated.
It's a lot to think about.
We're
You're
gonna
giving
have
a lot to think about.
yeah,
It's something to really to process.
It's a really good question.
A lot to process. A great question. And unfortunately, the last question, we've run out of time, guys. But please give them all a round of applause. Thank you all so much for being here. Lots of fun. And if you have more questions, so that you'll be at the tables, I imagine.
Yeah,
You'll be out there
yeah.
again. And I want to say it's so nice to get to talk to you and hear all your stories and just. Well, obviously you have a good voice for the microphone, so everybody loves listening to you all. So thanks for being here for us, guys.
Thank you guys.
Anytime. That's
Thank
it.
you guys.
Yeah, thank you all for being a part of it. Rangerstop and Pop. Let me hear you.